What if the entire UK financial system had to shut down tomorrow? After all, the UK is the heart of the world's financial markets. Will we be ready to bring it back online without missing a beat? That's the unsettling scenario behind the Simex 24, the latest market-wide simulation exercise conducted by the Bank of England. This test was designed to test the resilience of the UK's financial sector against a major operational meltdown. This is one of many exercises been a part of the ongoing effort to ensure that they got a backup plan for after that narrative and the reboot the way they have in the past. Let's talk about this. All right, so I want to take a quick minute, share some thoughts in reference to a recent exercise that happened to fly under the radar for the most part, given all the events we're experiencing right now in the world. But then again, in the UK, which has been the financial hub going back all the way to the British pound was the world reserve currency. And it appears that we're reaching a new turning point where they feel the need to begin preparing for whatever is coming in the days ahead, and has a lot to do with being able to control the narrative, so after things come crashing down, they can just flip the switch and turn on the new system. But will it be that easy? So in this video here, I'm going to share my 2 cents on some things, dive through some of the great details here, and basically give you guys something to chew on in reference to what's being worked on outside of the mainstream news that you won't hear about because of all these events we're experiencing right now. So as always, if you guys enjoy these short, quick takes, definitely hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe, take this and share it with others so they can also find out what's going on and how this can and probably will impact us all. But the big question is, why should we care about this? And it's simple, because all the banks are interconnected. And when one bank has issues, the ripple effects are felt throughout the entire industry. And as a result of that, has created a system that's overly reliant on complex technologies, and a single disruption could ripple through the entire economy, affecting businesses, governments, individual savers alike, because the entire system hinges upon the fact of banks keeping the payment networks globally running smoothly. And if something goes wrong, it's the kind of scenario we don't want to think about, but can afford to ignore. So how exactly is the UK gearing up for such a challenge? And are these simulations enough to prevent a financial catastrophe is the next question. And so first, we got the scenario where they're looking to reboot the financial system. And so basically, imagine waking up to find every financial transaction in the UK has been frozen, where there's been no payments, no trading, no access to your accounts. That's the type of scenario that they're planning for. And that's the scale of the disruption that Simex 24 is aimed to try to simulate. So in this scenario, the challenge isn't just fixing a technical glitch, but restarting the entire financial system after a complete shutdown. And the challenge that they were faced with is a question as to whether the entire sector can handle such an enormous task of going from being completely demolished to being rebooted and then something else appearing. And according to them, this isn't just a hypothetical. It's the kind of situation that could stem from a major cyber attack or a widespread power failure. And so the primary point was for the simulations to force the sector to practice in real time, making it clear whether they have the right tools and strategies in place or if they're flying blind when the disaster strikes. And in order to protect themselves, a lot of it has to do with the collaboration between different authorities within the industry itself. And according to their news release, it says Simex has been developed and delivered by the Cross-Market Operational Resilience Group, a strategic partnership between financial authorities, the UK finance and industry, and established by the Bank of England back in 2015. And so as we can see, they've been preparing for some type of event for almost a decade now. And it just doesn't stop there. See, this exercise, it involved the financial sector's biggest players, which are banks, insurers, and financial market infrastructures, along with those bodies I just mentioned. So the collective effort, which has been coordinated by the CMORG, is about more than just patching up vulnerabilities. It's about making sure the entire financial ecosystem can work together seamlessly when the clock is ticking. The Deputy Governor of Prudential Regulation stressed the importance of preparing for what he labeled as the most important challenging scenarios. And based upon a scale of what they're preparing for, I think he's probably right. They're going to need as much help as they can get to try to keep the public from realizing that they've been duped and that this whole monetary system is a sham. What should be even more concerning is the fact that the Simex 24 brings everyone to the table, both public and private sector alike. And this shows the severity of what could be at stake here. They've turned this into a sector-wide priority, where a single weak link could compromise the whole chain. So cooperation for them is essential to keep the system standing. And lastly, it looks like the tool that they're looking to use is the sector response framework, which happens to be the heart of the exercise in its entirety. This tool, which is considered critical for their operations, they believe helps ensure financial firms so they'll act in unison during a crisis. So think of it like an emergency blueprint for the entire financial sector. The SFR lays out how different players, from the smallest building societies to the largest international banks, should coordinate their efforts to restore stability when the system is at risk. Apparently, this protocol isn't just a piece of paper that's sitting in a drawer somewhere. So during the Simex 24, it was put through its paces to make sure the financial sector wouldn't be scrambling for answers. And according to this report here on the CMORG website, it gives a better description of actually what the SRF is. It says the sector response framework is a mechanism which facilitates the collective response in an event of severe and systemic disruption. It is a series of sector response groups, FMI crisis committees, and supporting contingencies, and is also the mechanism through which the financial sector and the UK authorities, which encompasses the HM Treasury, the Bank of England, and Prudential, Regulation Authority, along with the Financial Conduct Authority, are connected during a systemic incident. It can operate as an operational, tactical, and strategic level. So clearly a lot of thought is going into this, trying to make sure that there's no disruptions whatsoever and stuff hits the fan. So the last question is, why does this actually matter to you now? Well, as David Posting, Chief Executive of the UK Finance, pointed out, that it's crucial that the financial sector remain resilient during times of stress, because if the financial system fails, the consequences will be catastrophic, not only for the banks and the investors, but for everyday citizens who depend on their savings, their pensions, and credit for day-to-day operations. And so they believe that exercises like Simex 24 will help provide them some insurance that they can control things. But then again, it's going to be hard to keep the public out of the know if they watch videos like this that pretty much call them out for their criminality and corruption. The biggest question is, are these simulations enough to keep this next global event contained? Because that's just one exercise in the UK. And I'm not even talking about the most liquid financial market, which happens to be the United States of America, which as of today still has a world reserves currency. So at the end of the day, a simulation can only test so much, and the real world is infinitely more chaotic. So disasters don't follow scripts, unfortunately, and the unexpected has a way of exposing weaknesses that no one saw coming. So while this Simex 24 may improve the sector's readiness, I can pretty much guarantee that it won't stop a systemic event, and the domino effects that will ensue spreads across the entire planet, impacting all markets, which will unfortunately lead to all governments looking to collaborate together to try to offer the world some type of solution to the problems they created. So once again, just taking a minute to share with you some exercises that's taking place right now, and 3 of the main components that they're looking to use in order to try to keep this global monetary system afloat as long as they can before something else exposes the fact that the game is up. And it looks like, no matter how well they're prepared, this is going to be a very disorderly and dysfunctional rebooting of the monetary system. And of course, we can see how obvious that is right now, because as of right now, gold is at all-time highs still, which is ultimately a reflection on how poorly the fiat currencies are doing, making it even harder for the central banks to keep this systemic corruption going. And therefore, the governments are on the hook to try to keep the attention off of them, because once people realize that they are the ones in collaboration with central banks that the world should blame for the world's debt and poverty crisis, then there'll be no exercises they can actually run that'll work. So once again, just taking a minute, sharing some thoughts with you. Curious to hear what you guys think. If you found value, hit that thumbs up button. And of course, this information here is not circulating in the mainstream news. So take this, share it with other people so they can get an alternative perspective as to what's really going on. And as always, I couldn't leave you without some solutions to these problems here. And that's why I want to point your attention to these 24-karat gold notes that are available for those who recognize the importance and the value of gold in the midst of a global reset, which we're in now. So if you guys are interested, you can go to buygoldnotes.com or just click the link in the description so you can redeem some of these fiat notes and get real sound money in your hands. But other than that, curious to hear your thoughts. I'll catch you guys later.